Thanks everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Starting a Food Business, where I'll be talking about the licensing requirements and startup costs for various different types of food businesses, concentrating primarily on value-added food products, those jams, jellies, sauces, and baked goods as well. This is being offered by Goosefoot. We are a nonprofit organization here on South Whidbey Island in beautiful Washington State. We work together with the South Whidbey community to create essential solutions. We preserve great places, address community needs, grow local businesses, and connect neighbors. And addressing community needs and growing local businesses is a lot of the reason why we are offering this class, and also looking to develop a shared incubator commercial kitchen here on Whidbey Island in combination with the Port of South Whidbey. The food system on Whidbey Island, as it has in many places, both in Washington State and nationally, there's a lot of focus on local food systems, particularly now where the disruptions in the national food delivery system came to light after COVID-19 hit as well. So there's even more of an interest in how we can really strengthen our local food resiliency. And having a place for farmers and food entrepreneurs to process and make other products from locally grown foods is really important to local economies. So that's why Goosefoot is involved in this endeavor. I want to make a disclaimer. We are not experts. I am not an expert on this. Hopefully I know a little more than you do. If for some reason there's something that I talk about or ask a question to myself of that you might know something about, please chime in either through the chat function, and Sammy will be monitoring that, or verbally as well. So basically the renovation, there's an existing commercial kitchen at the Island County Fairgrounds here on South Whidbey Island, and we're working with the Port of South Whidbey. We actually have been working with them for several years on this to expand a currently small facility that they have there already. And we will be having more features for bakers. We will have a kitchen manager that will staff it and manage not only the renters, but also the equipment itself. There'll be opportunities for people to network with fellow users. We'll have a walk-in cooler, which the current facility does not have. There'll be dry storage. There'll be a proofer for the baked goods. Reach-in refrigerators and freezers, and then also professional grade mixers, choppers, food processors, and a steam jacketed kettle. Those are all commercial equipment that can end up costing a few to many thousands of dollars. And that's one of the reasons to use a shared incubator kitchen, is because you'll have access to a lot of the top grade and expensive equipment that you don't ordinarily have any access to. There are a few shared commercial kitchens on Whidbey Island. I'm not sure of the commercial kitchen availability off island for those of you that aren't on Whidbey. It's tough. There's just not a lot of these types of kitchens available. And there's some good reasons, which I'm finding out, being in the process of trying to expand the one here on the island. We do have the current kitchen that is being used by food producers, and there's the contact information there. There is a commercial kitchen at Ken's Corner that is rented to a limited amount of people on a monthly basis, and they have their own stations. And that's under new ownership, and I've tried to find some information on that, and I haven't been able to as of today. And then there's also Lavender Wind Farm in Coopville. She makes quite a few value-added food products herself. And she does have a kitchen that folks kitchen that's available for folks to use. So there's a couple of questions to start with when you're thinking about your food business. And it sounds like a lot of you already have, if not one idea, several ideas for what you'd like to try to do. So you want to think about how are you interested in selling your products? Are you interested in doing wholesale, which means selling to those grocery stores, gift shops, and other retail outlets? For example, here on Whidbey Island, I know that most of our grocery stores here are very interested in selling locally produced products. And we also have a lot of wineries and wine tasting rooms, again, that I think are really great, great places for local products to be sold. Do you want to sell it online? Do you want to be able to take orders online and ship your jams and jellies, ship your cookies out to other people? Or are you fine with direct sales, selling directly at farmers markets, at a farm stand? A couple of you mentioned ideas for a farm stand on your property, which you can sell these products at, or seasonal bazaars, church bazaars, and markets around the holidays. And there's also the Whidbey Island Grown Food Hub, which since I believe they started in last May, a local food hub, and they sell value-added food products that you go online and order and pick up every week, along with produce as well. So that's another way to sell a product. Do you want to or expect to make more than $25,000 a year? And you'll find out why all these questions are pretty indicative of which way you want to go. So again, there's that income level. Are you just, are you interested in, just some extra money a year to go on vacations, or saving for a college fund, a little more money to pump into the local economy? Or are you really looking to make this your full-time job at some point? And then if you're interested in making a sauce, I know there was Asia with the garlic scape sauce. A couple of questions is, will it be shelf stable, which is preferred by retail outlets, which means pretty much it's in the grocery aisles, versus will it be refrigerated? And if you're making a refrigerated product, it's must be refrigerated at all stages. The reason we go into this is because sauces, the hot sauces, the salad dressings, barbecue sauces, salsas, they get into, and I'll be talking about this later, they get into your potentially hazardous food products. And there's a few more hoops that you need to jump through for those products. And again, we'll be going into much more detail as we move along. And at this point, I suggest if you do have any questions, just jot them down to ask later, or put them in the chat room. And then Sammy, if she feels, oh, this is a great place for this question, why don't you pop in, Sammy, and let me know. Because there are two options for producing your food product. Either as a cottage food operation in your own home, which a couple of you already mentioned, and you'll see that's a great way to make some products at a certain level. It's also a great way for people to get started in their home making their product. And then once they get a certain amount of buy-in, a certain amount of interest in the product, then you can move on to doing something larger in a commercial kitchen with the food processor's license, which is the second way of making your food product as well. And now, for those of you that are live on the webinar, we have a video on the cottage food permit that has been put out by the Washington State Department of Agriculture. It's a really great video, just shows you how cottage food permit, how cottage food permits work. For those of you that are going to be watching the recorded version of this, I'll just ask, just Google WSDA video cottage food permit, and it'll come up for you. With baked goods, pretty much anything you want to do, you're going to need to get a master's business license. Doesn't matter what kind of business. So that's where you go up on top here and you'll see get master business license. And then you'll also need to get a local business license for anywhere, both where you're making your product in will require, may require a local business license. So like, let's say Everett, you know, Everett and Langley will require a local business license. And then if you're selling your product, you know, somewhere, you will all somewhere else besides Langley, besides Everett, you may need to get a business license for that city or municipality or that county as well. And that's something that you'll need to individually check into on that. And then also, obviously, you will need to get your food handler's card since you'll be handling food. So here is where you'll see you either go to the left or to the right with your next steps to do. Excuse me. And this is where some of those general questions came up earlier, that if you're interested, if you're okay with your annual income being $25,000 or less, and if your sales are direct to customers, if you're just interested in selling to farmers markets, seasonal bazaars, on your home farm stands, and if you're not interested in mailing things, mailing your products, you can take online orders, but the online orders that are made need to be picked up. You can't ship them. And you're making a baked good that does not require refrigeration, then you can apply for a cottage food permit. And to apply for a cottage food permit, again, you have to be sure that your products do not require refrigeration. So cream pies that require refrigeration would not be allowed under the cottage food permit, because that adds another level of hazard to the food product. And then you also must use your home kitchen. They come and they will inspect your kitchen, as was shown in the video. So that means, say your neighbor's out of town and they have an amazing kitchen that you'd love to use, and it would just be so much more efficient. You can't legally use another kitchen, or you have a vacation home and you're like, well, I'll just make my product on vacation in this home or in this rental. You can't. It has to be the kitchen in your home, hence cottage food permit at your home. And the cost is $230. For that, you will be receiving a copy of the cottage food permit as well. There are also additional costs. It's often thought, well, the cottage food permit, it really is the most cost-effective way to go to get started, which is true. But there's also other costs involved depending on if you live on an island and you're on a private well. And if you are, then you will require water testing as part of the cottage food permit application. And you might need to get a well site inspection as well. They will be able to tell you that if you need to get your well site inspected, and that all comes with a cost. And then also, although you won't be required to, you probably will want to get liability insurance to protect yourself against, anyone, just cracking a tooth maybe on a nut. Accidents happen. It's a litigious society these days. So you'll probably want to do that. And our best guess at that is it's around $700 a year. So if all of those things are in order, you're making a baked goods that doesn't need to be refrigerated, you're cool with making $25,000 or less, you just want to sell direct to customers at the farmer's market and at your farm stand, or have people pick up the product from you, you're all set with the cottage food permit. But if you're you know, if you're not fine with those restrictions, then you'll want to go into getting a food processor's license. It'll give you a lot more freedom in terms of what you make. You can make those baked goods that need refrigeration. You'll be able to sell it anywhere you want to. You'll be able to sell it locally here at the Goose Grocer, at Payless, at Hagen's, at Whole Foods. You'll need to do that with a food processor's license. And it's another, another application to fill out. It's actually a little cheaper than the cottage food permit. It's I have a cost here $92 to $147. And that depends on annual sales. I stopped at $147 is for sales of up to $100,000. So I figured it was probably okay to stop it there. Other things that you want to think about in terms of the food processor's license, in terms of additional costs. If you want to start selling sooner or right away in large chain stores, and this applies to Whole Foods, to Hagen's, not so much to your individually owned, family-owned food stores, you'll need to get a UPC barcode. A lot of places will require those now, and that can have a bit of a heftier cost. I also have a great handout that I will be sending to you on barcodes, how to decide if you want or need a barcode and which way to go. There's an official way to go and an unofficial way to go with barcodes. And then an additional cost, if you use a commercial kitchen, you will be required to have product liability insurance. That will definitely be required at that $700 annual as an estimate. You will see also that I have provided contact information here on the left with the cottage food permit. I have a telephone number and email address. On the right for the food processor's license, I have actually the names and phone numbers and emails of two specific individuals that are there to answer any questions that you have. And that's my recommendation before you jump into doing the food, starting to apply for a food processor's license. Give one of these folks an email and ask them. Generally, you know, I will let you know if I'm pretty darn sure about something, but a lot of folks will ask me questions about the products that they're making. And I'll say, well, it all depends, you know, so really asking these folks, letting them know what you want to make and just going over your process and what you want to do will really help. Even with baked goods as well. So jams, jellies, and butters, pretty much the exact same set of steps for jams, jellies, and butters. These refer to standardized fruit jams. So anything that's low sugar or without sugar, or any jams and jellies that have hot peppers in it, they might not be able to fall under the cottage food permit. This is where you'll need to contact the people at cottage food permit or food processor and saying, here's the kind of jam or jelly I'm making. Is that covered, or do I need to do anything specific? But the full load sugar jams and jellies are absolutely safe to do. So again, you'll get your master business license, local business license, food handler's card. Nothing changes there. And again, nothing changes if you're interested, you know, if all the regulations and the limitations are fine for the cottage food permit, you can go ahead and make your jams, jellies, and butters that way. Or, you know, if you're like, my jam, I'm going to be selling, you know, more than $25,000, and that's wholesale, that's That's $25,000 annual income. That's before taxes. And if you want to sell your product online as well, then you want to go the food processor's license way for that, and use a commercial kitchen to make and package your jams and jellies. Commercial kitchens, well, the commercial kitchen that we want to build here on Whidbey Island will have plenty of storage as well, because in order to store food, you have to have a warehouse license. So if you're making a jam or jelly at home and you have 18 cases of it, you need to be sure you have a licensed warehouse facility to store that. And again, that's something easy enough to get from the Washington State Department of Agriculture. It's just another step you need to go through. A lot of folks, honestly, that use the cottage food permit are just they're making it and they're selling it. You know, they're making it in that kitchen that morning or the night before, that morning actually, and it's going to the farmer's market, or it's it's being distributed at the farm stand as well. So this is where it gets into the potentially hazardous, the sauces, dressings, salsas, the garlic scape item that someone mentioned earlier. And the easiest way to do those is if they're refrigerated. I never paid much attention to this before I started learning about the food businesses and what's required and food safety issues, is that, you know, there's some of these that are in the refrigerated section. But most of them are in the grocery aisles. And it's because the ones in the refrigerated section are, for many reasons, a lot easier to make. And those are very precious real estate in grocery stores. However, a lot of grocery stores will make room. I know our local Goose grocer, full disclosure, it's also owned by Goosefoot. The Goose grocer will make room for refrigerated foods if it's made locally. So for someone making these foods, it has to be, stored, distributed, and retailed under refrigeration. So you cannot get a cottage food permit. Again, it needs to be refrigerated, potentially hazardous. So this is pretty straightforward. Again, all the regular licenses, and then the food processor's license. And in that food processor's license, you'll be letting them know that this is a refrigerated product. This is how you're making the product as well. And because it's going to be refrigerated at every step of the way, and then for sales as well, then the safety is not an issue. The downside to this is that if you really want to make a good business, a successful business, and do as much as you can with the product, it's that precious real estate. A lot of stores might not be interested in a product that they have to put into their refrigerated section. So, as you'll see, this is the most crowded worksheet that I have in terms of the steps to go through. And these are for your hot sauces, for your dressings, for your spaghetti sauces, for your barbecue sauces. The things that, honestly, I'd love to see more locally produced items like this on grocery shelves. However, there's a reason that there's not more of those. And it's because you really do have to go through some more steps. I think the steps are doable. They'll take time, but if you have a product like this that just has amazing enthusiasm for it, not just from family and friends. You have to have some strangers taste your product as well. Family and friends are going to love your product. Unless you're a New Yorker, they'll tell you the truth about your product. But chances are your family and friends out here, they're going to love your product no matter what you do. So one of the things that Goosefoot will be working towards is doing some taste testing of products once we get going and know a date for the commercial kitchen as well. You really want to know that strangers are going to like your product. If your product has a really interesting history or story, that's one of the reasons at the beginning of the live webinars and workshops, I ask people for what their products are and share with me the stories or ideas of the products. Because if you have an old family recipe, I'm trying to think of other things. If this recipe came from your grandmother in Sicily, if your child has eaten this product for 15 years and wants to start making it herself or himself, again, just those stories really go a long way, and the quality of the product. The other thing I throw in here at this point is that people will pay a premium price for a premium product that has local ingredients. Nationwide, it's been proven. There are people that either have the disposable income to do that, or more and more are finding ways to treat themselves to those healthier, locally made products where they know the person making it, they know the story behind it, they know that it has X amount of local ingredients. People will pay a premium price for that. So here you go. Here you again, your master business license, local business license, your food handler's card, and your food processor's license. Again, for your sauces, dressings, and salsas. That's what you'll need to do. Here's the added, this is where people can get stuck, because this type of product is potentially hazardous, and it is, unless you learn how to make it correctly. So what you need to do is you will submit your recipe to what's called a process authority, which is an odd bureaucratic way of saying a food scientist. And they're food scientists that are usually affiliated with major universities. So if you were going to be doing this, there is someone at the WSU in Eastern Washington that you would be submitting your recipe to, or there's also others. There's associated with Oregon State University. There's others associated with, I think there's a university in Tennessee. That's where you will be sending your specific recipe. And you have to be very specific with the recipe. In terms of the size of the pot that you use, how long you're stirring the recipe, how long you're doing whatever with it, what type of spoon are you stirring it with, because they need to really be almost over your shoulder, seeing how you make this product so they can determine its safety, if you're making it in a safe way or not. If you're using those pH meters the way you need to, if you're heating those glass jars the way you need to as well. And that's required, even if you're using a commercial kitchen, that's required, because if you're in that commercial kitchen making that product yourself, and that's the other thing, if you're in that commercial kitchen making that product yourself, you will need to attend Better Process Control School. It's a lot scarier than it sounds. I mean, I haven't attended it, but I want to believe it is a lot less scarier than it sounds, because you can do it either in person once a year. Washington State University offers, well, it used to be in person, it's probably via Zoom now, offers the class for people, or there's other online classes that you can take. And I have the information here. There's at Tennessee, at the University of Tennessee, they have an online course that you can take in this. And what's nice about the online courses, I think you have 6 months to finish it and take the exams. So you'll need to do both of those things as well. It adds a little bit of cost for attending Better Process Control School. It's $400. And then for submitting your recipe, it's $50 a product, depending on how who you use. And a product is if you have a peach salsa, that's one product. If you have an apricot salsa, that's another product. You know, if you have a chipotle hot sauce and another type of hot sauce, a green hot sauce, those are 2 products. So each of those products you'll need to pay that $50. And because your product is hazardous, potentially hazardous, you will have to register with the FDA. And that's a fairly simple filling out a form. I don't believe there's not a cost involved to it. They just need to know you're out there and what you're making in case something happens and there needs to be a recall. Things don't happen that often. We'll hear about them, and they make pretty big news if they do happen. And there's a good reason. There's actually a really good reason that more hazardous food situations don't come up, is because people need to go through all these steps. And so here, especially with these products, it's really important that you contact WSDA and let them know, say, hey, this is, I just want to check in, make sure, help walk me through this process. This is what I want to make. I want to make this, this hot sauce. I want to make this salad dressing. I want to make this barbecue sauce. Is what Marian told me to do correct? And actually, these have been run by those folks at WSDA. So I'm fairly sure everything is correct that I mentioned on here. I'll just stop. Are there any questions at this point? It's
nothing in chat right now.
Okay, great. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of information. It's intimidating, but I hope it's not too intimidating to start getting some locally produced barbecue sauce and salad dressings. And they have happened here. Actually, there is I know is one producer I know of here on Whidbey Island. Some of you might know her name is Dorcas. She has a farm, Lasadie Farm, and she also offers African sauces, a piri piri sauce, and I think it's a sesame sauce. And when she first started, it's actually a great case study. When she first started making her sauces, they were sold in the refrigerated food section at our local grocery stores. And then I started seeing them on the grocery food shelves. And that was because she moved away from refrigeration to wanting to sell her sauces in more locations and to get more shelf space. So she went through this process. She went through submitting her recipe to the process authority, went to Better Process Control School, is now actually on her way to becoming pretty much a food scientist herself. She's become so fascinated with the process that now her items are available on the grocery food shelves. Another way to do this is through using what's called a co-packaging facility, a co-pack. That's where you ship your recipe to another location, and there aren't many of them in Western Washington. In fact, at this point, I don't know if there's any. A lot of folks here have used co-pack facilities in Portland, Oregon for their products. And that saves you, it saves you making it yourself, first of all. It doesn't save you from submitting the recipe. That still does need to be done, but you're not making the product yourself. The only control you have is in terms of working with the co-pack facility on your recipe. and getting it to where they are making it to your specifications. There's also a very hefty minimum requirement. Someone the other day, don't quote me on this, but someone the other day said, I think they have to have a minimum of $50,000 for a first order, which sounds crazy, but that's not where you're going to start. You're not going to start with a co-pack facility. You're going to start making it yourself. And if you want to get out of the just making these type of products yourself and giving it to friends and family, then you're going to need to go through this process. So now we'll go into a little bit more of the summary, just so you have an idea of the costs. Some people are pleasantly surprised at, oh, it's not as much as I thought it would be. Others, depending on their situations, are, oh, you know, that's a little tough for me right now. I'm going to have to save and think about this as well, because these are expenses before you even buy any of your ingredients, before you even rent a commercial kitchen, or before you even purchase the things you might need to do the product at home. So for the cottage food path, you'll need to get your master business license, a local food business license. I use Langley here because that's where the site of our anticipated kitchen expansion will be happening. So I know for sure you're going to need to get a Langley business license, your food handler's card, and then the cottage permit fee. So that's $400. And then you might need private well testing. You might need private well inspection. If you're on a public well, say Oak Harbor, a public water system. I know Everett, Oak Harbor, Stanwood would have a public water systems. Then you would not need any of the well inspections. Product liability insurance, you would need that. I mean, well, that's optional. I highly recommend you get that. And then any alterations or additional equipment that you might need for your home kitchen. You know, the mixer, the better the equipment, the more efficient your process and the more you can make in the same amount of time. So there might be some costs involved as well. And as I mentioned before, that's why some people will just go to a commercial kitchen, because they can make 4 times the amount of product in the same amount of time that it might take them at home, with the professional ovens in terms of baking goods, the convection ovens and proofers that might be available at a commercial kitchen for you to use. So the food processor's path is a little more expensive. Again, the same licensing. You'll get your food processor's license fee, or liability insurance that will be required. You know, you sign your contract to use a commercial kitchen, you're going to have to show proof of insurance. And then also the UPC codes. I just put that in there. Again, you know, if you want to know, okay, I want to do this absolutely the right way, starting out from the beginning, there'll be $300 for your UPC codes. I often think about putting that on there as an optional expense, but I leave it on there. And then the most expensive is the low acid acidified. Again, your hot sauces, your salad dressings, barbecue sauces, salsas, because you'll need the Better Process Control School at $400, depending on how many products you have to submit to the Food Process Authority. So that's between, between $1,700 to $2,000. Again, just these are just the licensing requirements, or the requirements you need before you step foot into that kitchen to do something. So what you should know is that we offer general business workshops, primarily taught by my colleague Sammy Postma, but we also have several guest presenters as well. Check out Goosefoot Community Fund YouTube channel, and you'll see all of the workshops that we have available there on a number of different topics. And it's very hands-on, boots on the ground workshops. Our goal is that you can leave a workshop and you'll get that piece of information you've needed. You know the questions that that you need to ask, or you can just start just doing something. And if there's enough interest, which I'm pretty sure there will be, Goosefoot will be putting together some type of food business curriculum. We want to know that this renovated, expanded kitchen will be in operation. We want to know when we'll be breaking ground on that. And then we'll be offering courses in such things as pricing. Pricing your food product can make the difference between success and failure. I've heard from a number of presenters over the years that there are not great food products out there, but they're doing well because they're priced well. And there are terrific food products out there that were not priced appropriately and they did not make it, or they weren't marketed correctly. So pricing is really a big deal, how to price your product. And there's actually someone locally, a couple of people locally that have very good resources and knowledge to bring in on pricing. And, there's marketing, there's product testing, there's a lot that goes into a successful food business. And we'd like to help people as much as we can. And then we'll also offer specialty sessions. Denise Briley is someone we met with several years ago, and she goes around and finds local food products that she wants to carry at Whole Foods. That will bring along a whole set of other requirements like those UPC codes, and also higher level output as well. This is the top of my head, but it might be like going from 5 cases a month to 500 cases a month of a product. So there are certainly a lot of things to take into considerations in terms of stepping up production. And that will be part of our educational offerings as well. And then we also, at some point, we'd like to offer some type of on-site or online now assistance with filling out that food processor's application. That's something you can get on your own anytime you want to. Karen LaCourse's contact information is on those sheets that you'll be getting from me, or you can take a screenshot of the material. And that's why they're there, to help you with these items. Additional resources, there are many additional resources. I have made a limited attempt here. The WSDA Green Book, it is a Bible. It's what I refer to. Again, Google WSDA Green Book. It has information on specific on specific products there. So if you're like, anything from eggs, preserved meats, processing produce, it's geared towards small farms, but it's not exclusive to any type of food business entrepreneur. So don't be shy. Check it out. It's really quite an amazing book. And then Jennifer Lewis, I would recommend going to her website, smallfoodbiz.com. She's the pricing person. She actually has a spreadsheet that she's developed that you have to pay some money for to help price your product correctly. And she also has books available. I've attended a couple of her classes early on for my further education, and what led me to be able to teach this workshop as well. So she's a terrific resource. Start with those two, and Google can take you further down a rabbit hole. So the next steps, if you haven't already, please take our commercial kitchen survey. This is geared towards potential users of the kitchen here on Whidbey Island. And the kitchen will be open to anyone. We will probably, when we launch it, we might give priority, we might have to give priority, depending on some funding restrictions, to people that live on Whidbey Island. But it certainly will be open if we have the room and the space, it will be open to folks off island to use as well. But again, this is specific to the kitchen here on Whidbey Island. You are not obligated. If you fill out the survey, you're certainly under no obligation to use the kitchen once it happens, but it really gives us a running tally of what people need the kitchen and what people need in the kitchen. And also gives us an idea, because this project has been going on for couple of years longer than we thought it might, that there are still people interested in using the kitchen as well. So I have folks coming on new to the site fairly regularly to let us know that they're new folks that are interested in the kitchen. Attend our recorded business webinars on our YouTube channel to give you a little more information about, not specifically about food businesses, but just about business planning in general, marketing in general, social media, and selling online in general as well. Continue educating yourself on starting a food business. You can't be prepared enough for any type of business you're starting, especially a food business. So again, really just continue educating yourself. There are just a lot of resources out there. And then research commercial kitchens in your own area, or watch for the opening of Whidbey Kitchen. Full transparency, I've been saying that sentence now for 3 years. It doesn't make me happy to say that, but we're still working on it. We are still working on it. They cost a lot more money than you think, than you think they do. And that's probably, and it's also very difficult to make money operating a commercial kitchen, unless it's under very limited circumstances. Like if you're a major user, so if you're a major value-added food producer and you're using your own kitchen and then making enough money then to rent it out to make some additional money, that's a good way to do it. But pretty much for this project that Goosefoot is working on, again, we are a nonprofit organization. We're working with the Port of South Whidbey. That's a public facility. We will not be getting a return on investment, and our goal is to break even. And I think 4 years, our goal is to break even. So it's not a money-making proposition. So this will be the end of our recorded webinar.